Hey guys, Coach G's Radical Man Show, episode number 9. Like, can you believe it? We're here, episode number 9. And we got a doozy of one to kind of end the week out with. We're talking about co-parenting with a compulsive habit, or as you guys are probably more used to saying it, with an addiction. Can I still be a parent? I might not think I can be a parent. My spouse might not think I can be a parent, but can I be a parent with a compulsive habit or an addiction? So let me get the shares out real quick, and then we want to get rocking and rolling today, guys. Stay with me. Some of y'all been asking, none other than my man, Scott Hires. Hook me up with the beat. Few more here. All right, the shares are out. Comes to my best part right here. And let's bring it to a close. All right, guys, thank you for joining me today. Listen, we're going to have a pretty great topic to go into the weekend with, something that will not only help out your mindset moving forward, but also something that I believe is going to help you guys out with your relationships. I don't care if we're talking about your boyfriend, girlfriend, your wife, your ex-wife, your separated spouse, your children, your child, any relationships that we have right now, including those that are going to extend outside of us. I mean, we still got to deal with business. We still got to deal with maybe mom and dad outside of our households right now, right? So let's go ahead and jump into it right now. And we're going to talk about a couple important things, right? But how do we actually get to this point of having the question? Can I co-parent with a compulsive habit or an addiction? Real easy. I mean, something happens. Like, really, it's one of three things. There's either a discovery, right? Somebody found something you may have left behind, right? Some trace, some evidence of the compulsive habit, the addiction. There might have been an exposure. Maybe someone just outed you, right? Maybe it ends up being what we always hope it is, but let's be honest, it isn't always the case. Disclosure, that's when you just come out yourself. Before anybody else has a chance to come out and address something with you, you're already going to disclose a part of yourself. You're going to say, you know what? These are the things that I'm dealing with right now. These are the issues that I have. But I got to be honest with you guys. At least I'm going to speak for myself. It wasn't until things like discovery and exposure happened for me that I had to wrestle with the question, can I co-parent with a compulsive habit? Now, a lot of you guys know my story, but I'm married. We've been separated going on 5 years right now, coming this November. But I got to say, we're probably in the best place possible, probably closer now in every capacity outside of distance right now than we've ever been at any point in our relationship. So we're definitely moving in a good place. And also have 3 children. You know, I got 2 boys and I got my beautiful baby girl, right? I got 2 sons and then I have my daughter. And co-parenting for me has meant a lot of things in a lot of different ways. I mean, I grew up in a broken home. My parents separated when I was young, spent time with my mom, and then spent time with my dad. And then I had my oldest son when I was in college, right? And me and his mom didn't end up continuing our relationship, and I pretty much have had custody of him since he was about 4 years old. He's 17 right now. So a good part of his life, right? And then I met my wonderful wife, and we had 2 beautiful children together. Right, so it's a lot of different dynamics when it goes into the co-parenting situation, but now we got to look at it when this part happens here. And this part began to hit me right on what it started hitting me. I want to let you know about the progression that happened with me and get into this place of saying, hey, is this something I can do as a parent? First, it was just waking up in November and seeing that, hey, you know what, my wife and kids are packed up at the front door. They're getting ready to leave. No matter what I'm saying, no matter what the pleas are right now, they've made the decision that, you know what, hey, I'm going to leave right now. And they moved 400 miles away. Right? And that was the first time that I had to look and say, okay, maybe there's an issue, but it's really at that time, because of how it happened with the discovery and the exposure, and she kept wanting me to do the disclosure part of it, right? And that wasn't happening. I was still like in a bit of a whole kind of blame game. Like, this is really more about her. It's her problem. She needs to get over it, the whole 9. And then when it became to be more apparent, I mean, I was demoted twice at my job. You know, I went from being a manager to being demoted from a manager to a rep, and then they kind of like made a position of a trainer for me kind of deal, just so I wouldn't like leave the company, if you will. But make no mistake about it, I was demoted. I became homeless. Now on top of that, you know, I got into several different car accidents being intoxicated. And at this time, remember, even though my wife left with my 2 youngest kids, I still have my oldest son. And he's around me during all of these moments, right? He's a part of me. He's witnessing all of this. I've always said that, you know, one of the things that I regret and I'm fortunate about is that he's probably seeing me at my best and at my worst. Literally. Even when I didn't know I was at my worst, right? It was even a point in time when I asked him, I said, dude, what's going on, man? I mean, you think it might be better if you just went and stayed with your mom? And he was like, nope, I want to stay here. You know, whatever direction you go is the direction I'm going to go. And it probably wasn't the best decision I made at that time, but it began to kind of get me in that process, that mode of thinking. You know, my wife, who I'm thinking that at this time, I'm just dealing with a lot of the emotions and anger right now. So again, as I told you all before, when it happened, it was just strictly about the blame. Right? That's an M, believe me. Right? It was about the blame. Like, it's because of her I can't see my kids. It's because of her I don't have these relationships anymore. It's because of her that we're in this place with our relationship right now, right? So again, we got to look at these things, because here's what's really happening, guys. There are 3 things that are going to take place when the discovery, the exposure, and the disclosure take place, right? And I mentioned blame, but it's really going to be about the 3 E's. You guys are like, well, what the 3 E's? Well, the first E is going to be your ego. It's going to be, of course, what are you talking about? I mean, if you're the one that has the compulsive habit, your ego is probably telling you that, you know what, I can do it. I can still handle this. And let's be honest, if you're the spouse of someone who has a compulsive habit, well, then your ego's probably telling you that, you know what, I know what's best right now for my family. It's ego that's involved there, right? And then on top of that, you got your emotions. Guys, remember what I told you all a couple days ago, right? A couple episodes ago, we talked about this. No matter how you want to look at it, our first thought about any situation is going to come down to our emotions. Like our ego, our emotions, and then the last E is going to be simply our experiences. So again, all of this impacts what's taking place when this happens. I mean, I don't know the experiences. I didn't know all of the experiences of my spouse and how it may pertain to dealing with addictions. and how prominent that was for her and how unsafe that made her feel in that process. I didn't put my emotions in check. Remember, I'm doing nothing but just blaming her, and I'm mad at her. It's her fault that this is happening right now. And if she would have maybe rode it out a little bit more, right? Kind of rode the rough waves a little bit more, then we'd be in a better place. And then I also got my ego. I'm a man. I'm a grown-ass man. How are you going to sit up here and tell me that I can't do one thing and the other? Especially for most of us, we think to the better part of our ability. We've been doing this for years, and if you're like me, maybe decades. Like, you've been living that kind of ongoing line that looked good in the beginning, and then started falling apart, and we ended up with discovery, exposure, or disclosure. But there's that part of you that says that, well, you know what? My experience is showing that, even when this problem existed 20 years ago, or not around 20 years ago, but let's say the problem existed, 5 years ago, I was able to hold it down and you didn't mention a word then. How come now, when the discovery, the exposure, and the disclosure takes place, you're now questioning whether or not I can do this? And I want to tell you guys right now, if there's one thing I want you guys to get, especially out of this week, is that this part right here, it'll kill everything for you. I don't care if we're talking about co-parenting with a compulsive habit. I don't care if you're looking at a new career opportunity, if you're looking at something that's involving your spouse at this time. You got to understand, these things here, for the most part, unfortunately, they just aren't the real things. We haven't quite gotten to the real pieces of it, and it doesn't take away from all of your experiences. We want you to be able to learn from them, and you should be able to know your emotions and be able to experience your ego. But they always say, you got to keep your ego in check. You can't let your emotions run wild. You can't judge your future based on your past. It's the reason why we talk about those things, guys. Your ego, your emotions, and your experiences. They're going to kill you. And I'm talking about both sides. The one dealing with the compulsive habit and the spouse involved with it. And if the children who are able to be cognizant of what's taking place, that's going to be involved with them as well. All right? So now, let's start moving back into a solution-based place right now, right? Because here's the deal. Ideally, we want to be able to do what? Because the first answer, no matter how we look at this, ego, emotions, experiences, the whole nine, your first answer is going to end up being a what? Resounding yes. I'm being realistic. Don't get me wrong. There's probably somebody out there who says, you know what? I'm that far gone, I can't do it. And what I'd really like to look at that and say is that someone decided that, okay, I'm not willing to do the next steps that are coming up. You see, this right here, the resounding yes, can I tell you guys how that kills us every single time? This is like verbal. It's verbal. And let me help you out with verbal. You've been doing verbal for a long time. So when it came to the discovery, the discovery, exposure, and disclosure, guys, at that point in time, everybody realizes that, you know what, I've been dealing with a lot of talk from you for a lot of years. You've been telling me one thing, and this is what's really been manifesting the entire time. So the fact that you're telling me yes right now, that don't mean jack shit. Yes doesn't mean anything at this point in time. So if yes doesn't do it, then what's going to do? Well, this is what needs to happen. This is ultimately what's being asked. And I'm going to break this down a couple of different ways here. Ultimately, what's being asked here is about trust. And guys, if you remember yesterday when we talked about trust, right? The 3 parts of trust. Trust of self, trust the opportunity, trust your leadership. None of that involved our emotions. We had to look at some very real things. So what are the real things that we can start using that not only the one that has the compulsive habit can start doing, but the one that's also saying, well, look, yeah, this is my spouse, and what do I need to start seeing from him? Or maybe you're trying to figure out how to best maybe verbalize what you really need to get from him or her at this point in time. What we're really looking for is trust. And trust is going to look a couple different ways, right? Trust is really going to say, can you provide health, safety / security, and love. Talking about your relationships, right? Health, safety / security, and then love. Right? So what do we mean when we say, can you provide health? Well, first off, here's what I want to make sure that we understand about this whole process. Like, this is not just about a one-dimensional kind of flow. Like, a lot of times you'll look at this and say, well, yeah, can I provide health to my children? Yes, I can. Can I provide safety and security to my children? Absolutely. And can I love my children? Absolutely. That's why our answer came back to a freaking resounding yes. But that's not developing trust. What we really have to now do is say, can you provide health, safety, security, love to all? Now, what does all really mean in this case? Number one, yes. It's about self. You. Guys, listen, I don't care what we're talking about, but I'll go back to the exact example that I give you guys all the time. You step on a plane and someone says, the stewardess comes out, flight attendant comes out, and they explain a couple rules to you. And the first thing they tell you is, listen, and if we start going down, we lose cabin pressure. You see the mask fall out from the sky. I don't care if you got your 2-month-old child beside you or your 99-year-old grandmama beside you. You secure the mask on you first. You got to help you first. So, first, can you provide it to self? That means, can you start providing yourself better health? Can you find a way to provide yourself greater safety and security? Can you find a way to start demonstrating love to yourself? To yourself. Because let me help you guys out right now. Like, at this point in time, you're exposed. Like, all the games have come to light. Like, I need you guys to understand, like, your spouse has already said, like, you know what? This is how he's been able to deceive me. And this whole thing keep going on and on right now. The way he's been able to deceive me is that he just kept making sure he kept the veil up about health, safety, security, and love with the kids and with me. But for real, when he's without the kids and when he was out without me, then he's off doing all these other things right now, thinking that it's okay because he only provided the health and the safety and security and love to me. And at this point, the safety and security, that's now kind of gone out the window. You got to now start reinventing what exactly that means, because the safety and security you provided before allowed that particular behavior. All these things got to come into play. And you know what I'm going to tell you? It's hard work. Like I just said, I've been separated going on 5 years right now, and we're actually now at a place of saying, you know what? Let's go ahead and move back in together. You didn't actually send off divorce papers. We're still married. We want to get this thing. Let's go. But it took not just me saying what I can do for her and in terms of the health and safety, security, and then the love. She told me flat out, like, I remember so clearly, I thought I did so much work, and she said it's about developing trust. So it's to self, to the child, there's more than one, to the children, and yes, to the spouse / parents. So let me explain this a little bit right now. Like, seriously, guys, like, we're good for the most part looking at the spouse part of this situation. Like, if we're still married, then we're willing to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to work this out. But the moment all of a sudden the relationship goes south, we separate, we're no longer in the same home, it's this mindset that says, well, you know what, she got to fend for her, I'm only going to take care of the child. And I'm telling you guys right now that that doesn't work in you being able to provide the best environment. And that's whether you got a compulsive habit or not. You still have to be able to understand, how can I provide health, safety, security, and love even to someone that I'm not involved in a relationship with anymore? Does it mean you're doing the exact same things for them that you got to do for your spouse? Hell no. That's how you mess up the spouse relationship. But you do have to understand that there is some dynamic there that's still going to be connected ultimately to your ability of being able to co-parent to their ability to have health, safety, security, and be able to receive and demonstrate love. All that still got to come back to you. Yes, you, man, yes. Again, that's why it's a radical man show. Because this isn't about trying to compartmentalize things to see what's the least amount we can do as men. This is about saying what is the full scope of what we have to get done as men. And that's what radical means, to do something that is, just different than what is traditionally known. We got to stop, we got to break that cycle of what's just traditionally known right now, right? So now, let's get to some real hardcore steps here. This is what you got to provide. We got that, right? So how do we actually do this? Because here's the hard part for me. This is like the hardest thing for me, and this is why I stay curled up in a fetal position, drugged out, instead of actually getting like real work done kind of deal, was because I was under the mindset that, you know what, I gotta do everything. Like, I know I just got done telling you, yeah, man, we got a wide scope. But at that point, I'm like, man, everything, meaning everything at one exact time. And guys, that can get so overwhelming that you just want to say, you know what, the addiction wins. You guys play out, fine, go that way, go down. I'm going to just try to manage and hang on the best I can. Look, guys, I was there. But here's the pieces you got to know how to operate with this, right? Here are the steps. Number one. Guys, I don't care what you do. Like, we'll gravitate this to not just your ability to be a parent with a compulsive habit, but your ability to just start and become great. Like, let's just talk about your ability as a man to say, you know what, how do I really start conquering everything in front of me that I want to conquer? Like, when do I finally stop saying, you know what, the goal's too big for me to be able to get it done? And the reality of it is that you just got to pick one thing. Pick one thing. Pick one thing. Guys, look, I promise you, like when I was in high school, I loved wrestling, but was probably definitely not the best wrestler. You're not looking at, your state champ or nothing along those lines. But one thing that I did learn that I had to do, just pick one thing. Like, everybody's so talented in everything. So I can't learn every single move and do every single workout and be at every single, well, I was at every single practice, but, I couldn't manifest all of that. I couldn't gain weight, lose fat, get all the skills. That wasn't going to all happen in one day, one practice, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. And what I had to learn was that, George, just pick one freaking thing. Pick one move. That's it. Get thrown around as much as you want. That's fine. Just pick one move and get that down. That's what I want you guys to do, is pick one thing. Pick one thing about your health. Pick one thing about your child's health. Pick one thing about your spouse's or the co-parent's health. Just one minor thing. Look, I don't care if the co-parent gets thrown 3 carrots and you give your spouse a great meal prepared at home that's low fat, and you take your children and you help them go pick fresh apples somewhere in the orchard. I don't care how it works out, but pick one thing about their health. Pick one thing about their safety and security, and yours as well. If this is about your ability to overcome a compulsive habit, the one thing you're going to be worried about is, okay, what's the one step for me that's going to demonstrate some action right now? Because that's all we're talking about. They want full-on action. I just got done telling you guys, they don't want to hear yes anymore. They don't want to hear I got it, honey, anymore. They want you to walk around like someone and cut your tongue out, and you can nod and get the job done. That's it. Action. Pick one thing. Next. Follow through. Guys, that just simply means just do it. Like, seriously, just do it. Like, whatever it is, just do it. I mean, the way that I envision the Radical Man Show is definitely not what you all see today. Being done in a room and on a dry erase board, and you see your windows in the back and the whole nine. I got green room in my head with nice layouts, and I got men that come by and we get a chance to talk and the whole nine. But look, I picked one thing and I just gotta follow through with this bad boy. That's all we asking you to do. You throw carrots at your baby mama 3 times a week. Just throw carrots. You make a great, well-prepared meal for your spouse once a month. Fine, you made the meal. You picked one thing. You decide even, hey, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to sit up here. I haven't gotten to the point of saying I'm going to do A, B, and C when it comes to, my compulsive habit. But I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to at least get on the show every day. I'm going to get on a group call every day. I'm going to go to a meeting, whatever it is. Pick one thing, follow through with the damn thing. Do it. Just do it. Number 3. Consistency. That means whatever you was doing and that you picked, that you decided to follow through, you keep doing it. That's it. Guys, I gotta tell you, if there's anything that has helped the relationship with me and my wife, it's not been so much the ability for me to pick one thing. She'll tell you right now, George always can pick one great thing to do. And it wasn't so much about the follow through of maybe getting it done. She'd say George about maybe 50-50 on that. But the consistency, I mean, this is what kept George bouncing from job to job for years. This is what kept me unable to, maintain employment, finances, the whole, and I'm scratching my head figuring out why. Guys, consistency. Pick one thing, follow through on that damn thing, and be consistent with it. Step number 4. You're going to love this step. Last step. All right, look. I used to think this was about the hard work. Oh, excuse me. But I used to think this was about the hard work right here, right? Repeat steps 1 through 3 without losing what you gained. Because here's the deal. When it's about a discovery, an exposure, even a disclosure, guys, we're still kind of stuck in that place. And again, remember yesterday, I told you guys, yesterday, day before, we've been talking about it all week long, mindful awareness without judgment. You see, the problem here, especially when it came to a relationship for me, was that I never saw me doing steps 1 through 3 as an opportunity for me to gain. Like, I just thought like it was just like what had to be done kind of deal. Right? But here's where we drop the ball sometimes as men. We pick the one thing, we follow through, we're consistent. We pick something else and we lose out on what we just were doing. So again, you was making your wife the home cooked meal once a month. You pick something else that says, you know what? Now we're going to go to the gym twice a month. And you stop making her the meal, and she's like, wait a minute. Now I gotta, what are you saying? You fatten me up to now for me to go work out. I can't have that and that. Now I gotta sit up here and choose. That's gonna bring her right back to wondering, well, damn, am I choosing about working with someone with a compulsive habit or working with someone who's gonna be the parent? You can't lose a beat. Guys, that's why look, let me back up right here. When I mention consistency, you haven't heard me give you one example of anything being done every single day. At least not yet for you. I haven't given one example. I've given you like weekly examples, bi-monthly examples, monthly examples, because the key here is, guys, that I just need you to be freaking consistent. So if doing something one time a month makes you consistent, then great. And maybe it's the fact that you don't take your wife to the gym, but you said, I'm going to make you a great meal twice a month now. And be consistent with it. I'm going to attend 2 meetings a week. And I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to make sure I'm talking to my coach. Every week when we got an appointment, I'm going to be consistent. My boss says, look, he needs you there 15 minutes early so I can do A, B, and C. Consistent, consistent, consistent. I mean, guys, look, as dreadful as it was knocking doors, right? I mean, I loved it. I was there. I was doing it like one of the first ones there, last ones to leave. Consistently. Consistently. Guys, at the end of the day, you need to understand that there's only a couple things that we're asking you to show that the world is going to ask you to demonstrate. And you're going to get confused in a lot of the noise. But all we're looking for you to do, to back up that resounding yes that each of us want to have that says, yes, I can still be a parent, I can still operate, is that you just got to be at a place where you know how to demonstrate action. That's it. I'm going to tell you right now, the biggest issue with your discovery, with your exposure, with your disclosure is that you're now in a place where you got to start putting in real action. You want to be able to co-parent with the compulsive habit? It's going to take action. You want to be able to co-parent off of one night stand you had and you don't like the baby mama? It's going to take action. You want to be able to get promoted while you're dealing with so many other issues? It's going to take action. Guys, look. You want to be able to move like across the country. It's just going to freaking take action. You can't sit and talk about it forever. At some point, you just got to say, look, get the ticket and hop on the plane. Look, guys, that's my time today. Thank you for being a part of Coach G's Radical Man Show. As always, guys, kick ass. And remember, if you don't do nothing else, close your mouth. Just start showing action. Kick ass, guys. Peace.